Yeah, so welcome to this little conversation that I'm going to have with a very interesting man called Pete Wilson. And I met Pete, I think, 8 or 9 years ago. And from the first time I saw him, I recognized something in him, something that I can only describe as the feminine was alive in him.
Hmm.
And I remember two things about our first encounters. And one thing was that you were wearing an Isis necklace. And I was completely, I don't know, drawn to that necklace. And I wanted to understand what that meant for you. And I still do.
Hmm.
And then I also was very um, taken by the way you were acting in the field, allowing yourself to be very vulnerable and real. So I want to give you the word, Pete. I know that
Uh,
life has taken you many places since that meeting. And yeah, how would you like to introduce yourself?
yeah, it's kind of like the guy next door. What that means is I have an instant uh, projectile vomiting reaction to guru types who profess to know more, tell you whether you want to know or not how to live life, and so I just want to be the guy next door. I've had an exceptional life, with in the army, British Army, for 14 years, and I've lived since then, all over Europe. First in Sweden, then Denmark, and now in France. So I don't really count myself as British. I feel more European, even Scandinavian, if there's such a thing, in mentality. I still think and talk to the animals in Swedish. So yeah, the Isis necklace, that's really interesting. I remember that very clear. It was in her we met. I came into your workshop, Playful Hearts. Um, I've had this interesting love-hate relationship with identity. And I very much connected with that necklace. I bought it first in what was Helungen then. And it really, because I'd seen her in a dream, in a sweat lodge drum journey thing. And it's kind of, the love-hate relationship thing is I can really connect to the feminine, really connect to my feminine, who's an important part of my daily life. But the downside was from a ego or personality angle, I was a wannabe. I wanted to be seen as the protector of the feminine. I'd spent a lot of years within the spiritual and developmental communities to see there's a lot of women in that environment and very few men, and that many of the men that are within that or were within that, sure, they were on a journey of awakening, but they were mostly there to hit on women because it's a target-rich environment in military speak. So I wanted to see myself as a protector of women. And whilst that's admirable, it's still an archetype, the knight on a white horse kind of thing. And it was also not really looking at my relationship to the feminine in the deep. At that point where we met, I had not long, a few years ago, left my Swedish wife and 2 children for various reasons, but I left them, I walked out on them. So I'm an absentee father to my daughter, since when she's never spoken to me in 15 plus years or something like that. And then I've had a sort of strange relationship with all my partners, wanting to be or showing myself to be the kind of man they would like to have, be, you know, a refined pleaser, listening very closely to what they want as the ideal partner and delivering him, only to be told further down, like, I don't know who you are because you're a reflection of my dreams. Who are you in your own sovereign right? Don't know. Like, so I think this also reflects the kind of lost nature, clutching at straws nature of men within spiritual work. Many seem to grasp something and then run with that, and they then start teaching that one thing, and they're probably very good at that one thing. Unfortunately, then they themselves and other people, especially other women, put them on a pedestal as though they've got all the answers to everything, when they haven't. They've got one thing that's theirs. So same here, it's kind of like, I want to know the rest. Now I'm living in an environment where there's, you know, it's mostly women. There's my wife's got a retreat going upstairs. There's 21 women up there. And it's kind of like, I have to be so, I choose to be so impeccable with my energy that I make the breakfast, and I'm the guy that goes fetching things and fixing things. But it's important for me to be not directly connecting with anyone. I don't look at people's faces. I don't look for eye contact when I come in the room with anything, because I'm aware of that the way men have been within the spiritual environment. I don't want to be that. I want it to be completely clean and clear, especially in the nature of the work my wife's doing, very intimate work, very reconnecting the sisterhood from a place of trust. Now, any man coming into that room, like for example, when they come down for lunch, any man in that environment automatically going to affect the energy within it. So I try to not even go in the room if I can get away with it, but also very clearly be within my own boundaries energetically. And that means if anyone starts to project on me as well, which happens, then I can close that down very quickly. So we get into the kind of purpose thing, life path thing, which I think this is what this call is sort of about. I don't feel that life purpose is something for me. I think it's a bunch of brown smelly stuff that people are told by some spiritual teacher or other that they ought to have. And so the people hunt after this, constantly going on courses and workshops and meditations and buying big fat books, and and there's always something else that's supposed to be life purpose. It's not here. I can't feel, because the backstory is, if I find my life purpose, then my identity is here. I know who I am. Then I can feel safe within the universe, and it ain't gonna happen this time of hell freezing over. So there's always this looking for something that's just out of reach, and there's nothing wrong with that. The journey is important anyway, no matter which way it goes. But life purpose, I think, is only something you can sort of look back at and say, oh yeah, I didn't realize it, but this was what was meant for me. This is what I was being invited. This is what this, if you like, incarnation was all about, that I was to do this. And for me, it's looking after goats. That's my life purpose. I wish it was that simple, but it's not. I'm not sure. I think the only thing that holds any water for me that's close to the feeling of life purpose is to call myself back to presence as many times a day as I can, and to be looking for, what is life asking of me now, right now? There's this situation that's been dealt to me, seemingly out of nowhere, that's wanting my attention in some way. Sometimes I have to do something Sometimes I have to say something or not do either of those. Sometimes it's just to observe something. Most often it's to do with observing something in me about unconscious agreements that I have with life that aren't true. For example, recently, we've had a number of goats that are sick, hoof rot because of rain conditions, and there's this virus that's made their mouths erupt, and it looks so awful and so painful. And it's literally from 3 different vets we've had here. It's been, you can't actually do anything about this. You can't inject against it happening. It's going to happen. Every herd has it. All you can do is actually, make it comfortable for them, but it will just go when it's ready to after 3 to 5 weeks. So my life learning I'm seeing in this is that I have a backstory, which is I am not good enough. I'm not good enough or not enough as I am. I always have to be or try and do more to be loved, is the brackets. And it's kind of seeing this, kneeling with the goats, and there's nothing I can do. I can't even pay the money I don't have to pay someone to do something. It won't work. And what I was to see, and it's still a lesson that's hard to integrate. And it's kind of, I can only do what I can do. And yes, it's true at a level, you are not good enough. When it comes to making things out of your control go away. My responsibility is to do the best I can, to see that something bigger than me has the rest in some way, and to let that go, let me off the hook. And it's a really difficult one when it's animals, as you saw, to just, and especially like my beloved wife, she's the kind of person that doesn't do the waiting around, doesn't do the, oh, let's wait and see what happens. No, you have to be doing something. You should be doing more, which hits again my voice through past relationships of you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, you're not being man enough, you're not doing the things men should do. They should make this disappear or go away. So there's a lifelong red thread there being asked to look at as an illustration of my purpose is about being awake to what's happening in the moment and acting accordingly, according to how I'm being shown divine will is in reality in the moment. And that's a tough one.
Yeah. And actually, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about being guided from your soul. Because it's
Right.
not about having a life purpose that you're supposed to find and then
Yeah.
live. It's really to stop trying to figure it out, which I experience a lot of men are trying so hard to figure it out. And of course, they can't do it because we
No,
can't.
no, absolutely.
We will
Not
always fail. But when we
absolutely.
start listening to that soul that is telling us to, okay, I just have to wait. I have to wait for that impulse to do something
Yeah.
because I know what I have to do. Then the
Yeah,
can't stop.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That, for me, it's important that each of us finds our own current masculine and feminine, both light and shadow. I too have a shadow feminine, my inner bitch, who's a mean mother. But both the right expression of my masculine and feminine, and together in an inner marriage, there's a constant evolution of how to be. I'm fed the moment by the universe. Things happen beyond my control. How I face that moment, that's where I get to choose to see what part I can do, what part I can't. And then the brain, the mind, the masculine is the one that wants to fix things. He's important too. But at some point, I've learned often enough to stop, let go of the words, open to the feminine. Like you say, sometimes it means waiting to see what shows up, and then go from there again in each moment as a constant process. Yeah, that rare. It's a rare thing for men, I think, to be able to know that words can only take us so far, and then there's still more. And recognizing that there's still more, it's rare that that can be worded by anyone, even some of our best gifted poet friends. They can only take us so far, and they're gifted with that. But at some point, that too needs to be let go of. You know, Osho's favorite, I am not the moon, I'm the finger pointing at the moon. It's kind of like there. And it's for people like yourself and Ben, who I'm obviously thinking about, and anyone else that has some kind of gift with words, to guide other people into remembering they already know this. For example, I often use wisdom as a great example. When you recognize something was wise that you just read or heard, how would you know that was wisdom if you didn't already have it within you? How would you recognize it for what it was? So rather than giving away your power to someone else who seems to be wiser than you, how about turning that focus back on you and exploring who is that knew what wisdom was? And you can use the same model for compassion, for love, for presence, any one of the big subjects. And you can feel it. There's a point when you get it about the part where words can only take you to here, and then there's this more. You can feel that more. And every time you want to, you can just go to the word grace, which is completely indescribable, and feel it. That grace, that compassion, that love, that presence is just half a breath away. If only we can remember, create for ourselves the way of remembering to come back to that. And so the wordy people, our task is just to remind people that they already know this. They have all of the secrets they're looking for already within them that are of any importance. Really, that's why I mean the guy next door. This massive house. I'm from a working class background. My wife is from a middle class background in England. We didn't have money. We didn't have a special education in anything. But through divine intervention, or what, the money showed up out of nowhere. This house showed up out of, massive as it is. And the guy next door thing is, I'm just like you, who somehow stumbled upon some kind of what others would call a vision, but I just trusted in what was happening, and we ended up in this. So, you know, what could be your dream? Not as a purpose, but like as an exercise in focusing. How do you want to live? Are you okay with living with lots of people in the city? If you are, nothing wrong with that. But do you want to live some other way? Yeah, what does that mean though? Yeah, how far away do you want to be from the nearest shop? Okay, on foot or by bicycle or by car. How close would you like to live? You know, whiteboard this. What do you want for your future life? Maybe it won't happen right now, but your energy, the universe responding, well, what could you create anyway?
Yes. Something that I get in contact with when I'm listening to you, and also as I have observed you through the years, is that, yeah, we can decide things around how we want to live and about what surroundings we want to be in. What really, really matters is the work that I have seen you doing and keep doing. And I have this picture of you walking with a mirror in your hand. And even though you're looking out in the world, You're always facing that guy that stares back at you. And for many people, it's uncomfortable. It's not nice because everything is being shown to us. And that's where I feel your power, that you just keep looking into that mirror.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially at the places I don't want to look.
Yeah.
And that's where relationship comes in.
Mm.
The shiny surface of the places you don't want to go.
Yeah.
But recently I've taken, I mean, the last half year, I guess, as an exercise in being able to face mirrors, literally, is every time I go to the toilet, I work through my body, thanking my heart, thanking my mind, thanking my spirit or soul or whatever. And then it's little Pete, my inner child. And then big Pete, the one that holds it all together, is a mirror. Is every time I pass a mirror, I say thank you to him.
Mm.
So that's a game changer for me.
Mm.
The last bit is thanking my home, touching the walls, and thank you, Source, for all of this, these challenges or this beauty or whatever it is that's going on in the moment. As an easy exercise for anyone, but maybe especially guys, just to go through in a place that you have to be in every day, like a toilet. Could be the shower. That's another way of thanking body instead of just randomly doing stuff. As you're using soap, thanking that area. How many times has this hand held something that's been important for my life? Legs holding me up, or the heart beating without fail for these 61 years. Thank you. Just gratitude.
Yeah. Gratitude is
Best prayer, only important one.
yeah, it is.
Because no words can actually say everything, but thank you is a good start.
Yeah. Mm. So you've said a lot of wise words.
Oh dear.
And
How would you know they were?
I know because I feel them inside.
Yeah,
Already
brilliant.
living,
Bingo.
as you said. So, do you have a final message of something that wants to come through you to anyone listening?
I mean, is your audience mostly women? A balance of both, or mostly men, or
A, a few more women than men.
yeah, and there's no surprise in that.
No, but there are men as well.
Yeah. I would love to invite the ladies that are listening to look at the way they say things to men and use words of encouragement as opposed to complaint. You never take the garbage out, classic American thing, and turning that into every time he does take it out, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. I feel love when you do that, because then it's a team. It's even if the whole world's against us, just you and me, that's enough, and that we will bust our asses trying to create more of that. It's a classic 5 love languages. Men's classic, generally, love language is acts of service. Women's generally is quality time. He expresses his love by doing things for her, fixing stuff. He spent endless hours every day with her in mind, doing things, trying to make her life great, but as a way of saying I love you, even though he doesn't say it himself. So it's for the ladies to learn that love language, to see what he's doing and genuinely thanking him for some part of something specific. And for her to perhaps explain to him how quality time is for her. What does that mean? It means I love it. It's not about sitting next to each other and you give me the remote control. That's not quality time. It's just moments, especially daring to meet each other in conversation, face to face with, you know, him learning to listen, just listen without fixing to what she's got on her heart. That's there's simple practical things both can do.
Mm.
And, you know, many women have used the excuse in the past that they can't go deeper with their own path because their husband's not interested in that shit. Well, there's a lot of men waking up. I've been running men's circles online for the last 5 years, and physically, practically here in the house, men do care. They might not have the vocabulary that the women do to express what they're thinking and feeling, but I have trouble stopping men talking about inner stuff. I have to set stopwatches. Otherwise, I just keep it going. So what they need is safety. The safety that what they say, no matter how clumsily, she will listen, or at least try to listen. It's difficult because, of course, some of it will be about her. Crazy stuff.
Mm. Yeah.
Wow, we've covered some ground.
Yes. Thank you. And I just want to add to that because I really agree
Please.
with you. I'm a couples therapist, and
Oh, really? Cool.
I see what you're saying. It's really true. It really resonates with me. And I want to say that one thing that men can take away is that what we're really longing for as women is that you're stopping to try to figure it out and just dare to be true. And of course, you need safety to reveal that true self. But that's what we really want. And whenever you're throwing some fancy words that you might do to show us that you're trying to understand what the world that we are living in, and we feel that it's not really coming from you, we get annoyed, and we because that's not what we want. We want you, just the
Right.
version of you. So that's my invitation for the men.
Right.
Yeah,
Stop
because
trying to figure it out.
yeah, just dare to be you and trust that that will be enough. That's what she's longing for. Yeah.
And that to be able to do that requires classic feminine characteristics that men are not educated.
Yeah.
I don't mean in school. I mean, because women have always talked to each other.
Yeah.
They've got that. Men don't know that they have that. They do have it. They just need to exercise it like a muscle.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Stop trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And be with us.
So that's where your man circles comes in, and what else you offer. So if people feel drawn towards you and want to meet you and yeah, learn something from your presence, how can they do that?
The best thing would be to come here, where the setup is just so good. This place is enormous. It's clearly too big for just my wife and I. So what's left over is for everybody else. So it's a natural haven. It's a place where it's very quiet. The telephones don't work all that much. Cell phones and stuff, there's no reception. So it's a place of quiet. There's virtually no traffic. And just come for a weekend or why not a week and just submerge in this. And we pick up the conversation that you maybe didn't know you wanted to have. And it's not about, right, man, let's go into the library and let's have a chat. It's more likely, hey guys, I'm going out with the goats. Do you want to come? I need a hand getting over the road. And in that process, is there anything we need to talk about? Hey, what's happening with the relationships in, where Germany, wherever this guy is from or whatever. So it's not a workshop, but the content of it's still there. It's just in walking form or in the garden, hands in the soil. Because I found that's what guys will show up for. We had a volunteer week here because it was about doing stuff. It was 50% men. If it'd been a workshop, be lucky to get 2 out of 20.
Mm.
So that's kind of important. And in that process, it was much easier to kind of, and these were guys from all over Europe, different ages, never sat in circle of men before, or any circle. And like I said, it's difficult to get them to stop talking. So create the environment, you know, it's a good old talking stick, even within the family, talking stick. Because one thing that came out from all of those men on the volunteer week, the one thing they really hate, and it leads to a huge amount of frustration, is not being listened to. The guy starts saying something and she's already interrupting, or you can see that she's got an answer coming back, even though we do it ourselves. And she's not really listening, and she's creating a story in her own mind, and she's running with that about who I am and what I mean. And then getting accused of stuff based on something you never said, didn't even mean. There was no way. It's like, if you really want us to go on a journey, listen. I know it can easily get into mansplaining, but if that's so, please can you keep it short? Or I've used it before where the partner also sets a stopwatch. It's very masculine, but it stops over talking. Or, you know, when you do that, because a big subject around men is disempowerment. Constantly from birth disempowered, often or especially by the feminine, mother wounding. You know, yeah, we could go on for hours about that one.
Yes.
Yeah, we do want to talk about inner stuff. We're getting there with the vocabulary. We mostly are we're doing this for ourselves. We want to figure ourselves out one way or another. We'd love to take the journey with you. We actually need to, for us, you and I, to take the journey together, because it can't go as deep as it could on your own. If you're single, it can't. Long-term relationship is the cauldron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Pete.
Oh. Living this stuff is the continual challenge.
Yeah. That's a workshop in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. Wonderful challenge sometimes. Yeah. Talking which, I better get back, because the boy goats will be escaping any moment now. They come through the door.
You better get to the goats. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, really. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.